Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me. I am still Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com. It is still in the description below. I am still your purchase and pricing email question source. For this or any of our watches, email me for pricing. I am still tmosso at thewatchbox.com. Today we are discussing a evolution of the original Omega Seamaster Aqua Terra Worldtimer. This version in titanium arrived for the 2023 model year, and it maintains the sizable dimensions while adding a considerably more wearable combination of ceramic bezel and titanium case. Light stuff, especially when combined with the sapphire used, it's completely different from the original 2017 platinum version of this watch, but it is still 43 millimeters in diameter, 14.3 millimeters thick from lug tip to lug tip, 49.8 millimeters, with a 21 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Now, this one on a rubber strap wears quite compact and it feels light. On my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, this is the most wearable version of the watch yet. I would actually recommend this watch for a wrist as small as 15 centimeters circumference, and I never felt that way with the dimensionally identical steel and platinum. For some reason, this just feels different enough that you could go down a size. So 15 centimeters circumference and up. And you can see with a sloped bezel, although it is not a thin watch, it actually should slide under most sleeves. And then down the barrel, you can see I've got quite a bit of clearance on each side of the lugs. Super light again. Ceramic, titanium, and sapphire are very light, diffuse materials. We've got a strap that is custom made for the watch. You can see it has the light titanium gray contrasting stitch, even though for practical purposes there really is no point. It's not binding anything, it's just there for aesthetics. We have a crosshatch molded pattern down the center, and then we have a sort of, I would call it undulations or a little bit of a rippling on the underside to help better aggress against the wrist and hold the watch in place. We have a all satin finished single fold deploy and clasp trigger release. You have to press both. Then you get inside and you can see that there are these two little lobes and then a pin. And the way this works is you slide the strap in, you tuck it under the lobes, and then you close it, you pin it on the pin, and then there's no excess length visible and there's no need for strap minders, which keeps everything very clean. So it's very secure and very clean clasp in action. Now, the case is familiar to those who have been following Omega since the early 60s, really. We've known about these lyre-style lugs where you have both an inward bevel and an outward bevel. Here, everything is brushed to give it a muted finish. Sometimes the bevels are polished. Here, everything is satinated to give the watch more of a low-glare look, which I highly appreciate. You can see we do have a screw-down crown. The watch is 150 meters water-resistant. It is also highly shock-resistant and antimagnetic to over 15,000 Gauss, which makes it effectively amagnetic. Now on the dial, we have laser ablated titanium, and then we have a Hesselite crystal over the 24-hour track at center. You'll appreciate that the individual hour indices are applied by hand. They are polished on their flanks and satinated on their tops. And then we have hands at center that include both polish and satin for better contrast. We'll do a quick loom shot so you can see the watch in the dark. And so you can see all three hands are loomed. Now, it is a Worldtimer, and so we have a 24-hour reference ring. I'll demonstrate how all this works. Note that I'm able to change my local hand without actually making any changes to the rest of the watch or even stopping the seconds hand. And if you look at the date, you can see I can drive the date forward and backwards, depending on which direction I'm traveling across the international date line. Now, when I pull the crown out, the seconds hand stops. Now we've engaged stop seconds, and I can set my local time and my reference time all at once. So you can see right here, you can read these reference cities relative to this 24-hour reference ring. And you can see it's a little bit different from other 24-hour reference rings in that it moves clockwise, but at half the speed of the 12-hour hand. Usually these move counterclockwise, and a lot of other Worldtimer systems will feature a reference ring that moves. This one is fixed, so you just have to be certain about where you are at center. And then what you generally want to do is you want to set GMT or London time using the reference ring so that you can read all of the cities of the world. So, for example, when it is 7 in the morning in London, it's noon in Karachi, Pakistan. So that's how you read that. And then you read the center for your minutes. And then the little black semicircle is roughly where it is nighttime or dark. And then the silver one is roughly where it is daytime. You can also see the spectacular laser ablation, a projection of the world as represented from the North Pole. Really great attention to detail. And again, that dial made of titanium. You'll also note that Paris has been replaced by Omega's home city of Bienne, Switzerland. Turning it all over, master chronometer. That's what we've got here. This is a watch that features caliber 8938, which is a unique world time version of the 8900 automatic. So bidirectional winding, 60-hour power reserve, 38 joules, twin barrels in series, which creates a very flat torque curve. So there's very little tendency for this watch to run fast, except when it is fully wound and only at the very beginning. And there's no tendency of it to lose time except at the very end, just before it stops. That's the advantage of having two phased mainsprings in series like that. It beats away at 25,200 vibrations per hour, which is a beat rate that is sort of particular to silicon hairsprings. I used to think it was coaxial specific, but you see it throughout Swatch Group brands, including many that are not coaxial. So that beat rate, 25,200 vibrations per hour, seems to correspond to the needs of an anti-magnetic silicon hairspring. And the hairspring, the balance staff, the balance, and the escapement are all anti-magnetic to the point of being almost amagnetic, over 15,000 Gauss. So we also have a tri-level coaxial escapement. You can just barely see it. There's a bridge below the balance bridge. And so this is the system devised by George Daniels in 1974 and eventually marketed to Omega in the 90s. And the idea then and the idea now is that you have direct and impulse and indirect impulse of the impulsed surface by the impulsing surface. So it's a double impulse with direct and indirect, but it's always tangential friction. Unlike the sliding friction of a conventional Swiss lever, tangential is lower. It also has a freakishly low lift angle if you're a watchmaking type. So the result is improved power reserve, chronometry, and reduced maintenance requirements. Now we also have a full balance bridge and a free sprung balance. Those two features make the watch very shock tolerant. The free sprung balance also allows very precise adjustment. And this watch has gone through the METAS or Master Chronometer test, which is a 6-position test of the fully assembled watch. It meets the COSC chronometer standards, but it goes beyond that. COSC is 5 positions and a bare movement. This is fully cased up in 6. They also test winding efficiency, power reserve, shock resistance, and anti-magnetism. And it's not the fox guarding the hen house. It's not like Omega created this with the Swiss Federal Institute of Metrology. Anyone can master chronometer certify a watch, which is why you're seeing that on Tudors now. It's just a more exacting standard, and it's what Omega uses these days, which is always nice to see. And again, 60 hours of power reserve and bidirectional winding. We have spiral arabesque Côte de Genève's and both polished and blackened screws. All the finish here is mechanical, but it is handsome, and the watch well deserves its display case back. If you love this watch, reach out to me. I am still Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.